Pennywise is eyes in there. Well, we do drive on the other side of the street on that one on White Marble to avoid it. Everyone does that. So as they're going south, they go and go around. We all so. I mean, that one's on. Yeah, you can. You'll definitely go out of alignment on that one. Yeah, they just didn't do a good job on it when they did them. Like you said, they didn't pack it back in right. It's unfortunate. That's crazy.
I mean, in theory, it should be quick.
You never know, right?
I've seen an agenda like this go for 3 hours. The other one, 3 times the size of this go for 10 minutes.
Something like that.
Where are you from?
Originally, a little bit cooler, born upstate New York. My father was military. So,
Where'd you go to high school?
North Carolina.
Oh, okay.
You?
Just down the road, Colorado Springs.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yeah, my father was military, but
It's a rarity.
yeah, he stayed.
Mr. Stevens.
He retired, he was Navy, retired in North Carolina. And got out 12, 13 years of college.
Did you go anywhere cool in the Army?
What's up?
Did you go anywhere cool? Stationed overseas?
No, sadly, no. Just stateside here.
Louisiana?
I stayed in University, and then 3 tours to get back.
Oh, yeah. Bulls will do that to you.
Yeah, no kidding.
The claws. It'll be just like the Santa Claus.
What'd you do in the Army? Or were you in the Army or Navy?
Army.
No, we have to balance whether everything is jumping.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy. I've never done that. That seems pretty crazy. I had a friend who should have he was in Germany.
Well, go ahead. Yeah, I know you got stuff. You got to finish it.
Yeah, it's crazy. I was a tank, I was a plane. That seems kind of like a little like. That works? That works for you? Yeah, it's like, yeah, let's get a big ass shoot.
Could never do
Hi,
it.
Merry Christmas.
I didn't know it worked.
Feet on the ground.
I never knew it worked. I was like, really, that works?
I take that and chop 30 seconds.
What's the over-under?
I nominate Foreman.
Shoot him to death, Sarah.
Is it secret, so when you're here, you do that?
Yep, it's already
I
going.
wasn't hearing you guys in the 18 budget, but I'm assuming it's all you do is direct it. That was approved by the SB. You just got to restate the fund allocation. That's about it. Yep. That's what I thought. Bada bing, bada boom.
Yeah, thanks. It's very short.
Are you guys good?
Yeah.
Town staff?
You have 2 minutes.
What?
You gotta wait 2 minutes.
I only show half a minute.
I have 6:29 on my phone.
As long as it doesn't go into the 15 minutes.
I have 6:30 on my phone.
In fact, yeah, go now.
Call to order this regular meeting of the Monument Board of Trustees, December 17th, 2018. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty liberty and justice for all.
Ms. Hogan, will you take roll, please?
Mayor Wilson?
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Elliott?
Here.
Trustee Bornstein?
Yes.
Trustee Clark, noted absent. Trustee Kootman, noted absent. Trustee Romanello?
Here.
Trustee Stevens?
Here.
Okay, before us, we have a consent agenda and our regular agenda. Is there any modifications to the agenda?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to do a modification and add a discussion item, the Tana Monument, the North Monument Creek Interceptor, if we could, please.
To discussion items?
Yes, sir.
Do we have any other modifications? I would like to also add a modification for board attorney procedures. Do we have a motion to approve the agenda with modifications?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the agenda with modifications.
Second?
Ms. Hogan?
Trustee Bornstein?
Yes.
Mayor Wilson?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Elliott?
Yes.
Trustee Stevens?
Yes.
Trustee Romanello?
Yes.
That motion passes 5-0. First item on the agenda is ordinance number 292018. Ms. Smith is not here.
We'll let Robert Bishop handle this one.
That
Okay.
is correct. Due to illness, unfortunately, she's not here. Now, due to the lack of financing, you'll see her memorandum in your packet. The money that was allocated to assist in that financing of the project in the 2019 budget has to be reallocated back into the general fund since the financing was not approved. So that change was made, so we need to revisit these two ordinances and approve them in order to approve the 2019 budget.
Any board questions, comments? This is an ordinance, so it is a public hearing item. Is there anyone from the public that would like to speak for or against this ordinance? Seeing none, I'll bring it back to the board for a motion.
Motion, ordinance number 29, 2018, to pass, of course, an ordinance adapting a restated budget for the purpose set forth below for the Tana Monument, Colorado, beginning on the first day of January 2018 and ending on the last day of December 2018.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Ms. Hogan?
Trustee Bornstein?
Yes.
Trustee Romanello?
Yes.
Trustee Stevens?
Yes.
Mayor Wilson?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Elliott?
Yes.
That motion passes 5-0. Next item on the agenda, ordinance number 30-2018. Mr. Bishop.
This is going in line with the second one. This is reallocating those funds back to the general fund, whereas the one prior to it was just the restated budget to approve it on the first day of January. So these two kind of coincide with each other, just this one more direct.
Okay. Any questions from the board? Comments? This also is a public hearing item. Would anybody from the public like to speak for or against this item? Seeing none, I'll bring it back to the board for a motion.
I'd like to make a motion to approve ordinance number 30-2018, an ordinance appropriating sums of money to the general funds and the Water Enterprise Fund in the amount set forth below for the town of Monument, Colorado, beginning on the first day in January 2018 and ending on the last day of December 2018.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Ms. Hogan?
Mayor Pro Tem Elliott?
Yes.
Trustee Romanello?
Yes.
Mayor Wilson?
Yes.
Trustee Stevens?
Yes.
Trustee Bornstein?
Bornstein, yes.
That motion passes 5-0. Board discussion items. Prosecuting attorney for municipal judge. That is a discussion for the board. Would anybody like to start the discussion?
I would like to see if maybe we're not, our back's not against the wall to make a decision for this year. And I had a great conversation with Pam about this, and she's got some really good data. Was also doing some research, was also talking with our attorney. I'm sure, hopefully she's talked to our town manager.
Yes.
So I think that'd be maybe great to postpone until she's back. I'm just gonna put one thing on the table that she brought to my attention that was very interesting. Based on the costs of what our operation fees are with personnel and what we bring in, we're in the red. We're in the red. It costs us money to run that. And I'm not talking a couple $100. So let's hold off and grab it on the next meeting if that's acceptable to everybody.
I would like to see, do you guys have any do you gentlemen have any background on this or anything else to add?
Thank you. One of the things that I was asked to do was to look into how the prosecuting attorney function may be subcontracted out. Almost all of our clients, our firm represents municipal clients, some of the town of Monument, and almost all of our clients subcontract out the prosecution function, and at a tremendous cost savings. And I was asked to reach out to some of these folks and find out if they're interested, they're available, and their rates. And if so instructed by the board, I can continue to do so.
That sounds good.
That
Does
sounds
that
really good.
work as a postponement also?
Yeah, I'd like to ask one question of our
Okay.
attorney. Because our felonies, it's my understanding, that goes to county. That's something that the town of Monument does not do. So we're looking at misdemeanors, what have you. Is that something that the county could take ownership of, where we would wash our hands clean of it?
Generally speaking, the town municipal court, as it's referred to, handles low-level crimes. Shopliftings, minor in possession, minor traffic infractions, things that are relatively mild on the terms of criminal conduct. And then the more serious the crime, and certainly felonies, are referred to the district attorney's office. So the municipal court handles code violations, and most actually just code violations, which overlap with misdemeanors and petty offenses. So these are very minor offenses in the grand scheme of things. Anything that is major, anything that's a felony or a higher class of misdemeanor is immediately referred to the district attorney's office. And how that happens is that actually the officer on scene will write it in. So the officer on scene makes a decision either to refer it to municipal court because it is a lesser offense, less serious, for the intended purpose of allowing municipal court to handle that under more community norms, and the more serious crimes are definitely referred to the district attorney's office. And no felonies would ever, under any circumstances, be seen by the municipal court.
Okay, but I'm going to ask my question again. And but have you seen situations in towns such as our, even the low offenses? Because if you're in the Springs, you had a low offense, you're still going to the court. Have you ever seen where a town where they don't maintain their own court systems? So the low-level offenses that our police
Go to the county.
might expose, but again, we're finding now that they're not so low, or they're jumping to the higher levels. But I'm having a hard time understanding. We run courts, and it's costing us substantial dollars.
And I'm thinking about your question, and I'm running through our clients, and it's my belief here that all of our clients operate a municipal court. And so, and some of the dockets are fairly small, so it's not uncommon for municipal courts to have 20, 30 people, and they're held once a month or twice a month, something like that. But upon kind of me running through our clients and what I remember and recall about them, I believe everyone operates a municipal court.
And my last question, and I'm sorry, because I know we were postponing this, I apologize. Can you possibly add, if the board is acceptable to this? My understanding, we've never raised our court fees.
And that's one thing we're reviewing right now. I met with Pam, on that. We met this week, and that's one of the things that we're going to be reviewing is what are our fines and are they high enough? We've met with the chief also. And that's going to be part of my review is to go over cost, fines, processes, the prosecutor and everything like that, and working with the town attorney to make sure that everything that we're doing does try to make the best use of our funds today. Courts normally aren't run in the black. A lot of times they are in the red. It just depends on how much you're in the red.
Right.
So-
And again, not going to court.
Yeah.
And not knowing how things are being enforced and imposed on first time, second, third, and I can't answer that, and maybe
Yeah.
that's something you
It's-
gentlemen can bring to our attention. And again, the court's not here to be a moneymaker, I get that.
Right.
But the numbers that Pam did share are substantial.
Right, and I
They're
think that
not
needs to
five-
be reviewed and looked at and see how we can improve on that.
Okay, great.
How much volume do we have in our courts? How many cases do we see in a month?
Chief, do you have that?
When I was short staffing, and we were probably, there was a difference between those that show up in court and those that pay prior to court. We average maybe 60, I'm just guessing, so don't hold me to the exact figure. A large, over half pay before they ever get to court. So they come in, pay the ticket, and we deal with it in our police records. those that show up to court, the majority of them, I like to call our court a court of voluntary compliance. If they are a real bad person, we don't send them to our court. Our court is designed for our community to give them an easier way to come to our town versus having to go all the way to the county to pay a ticket. So we only have one trial this week, or actually coming up, we only have one actual trial, but we probably have a docket of maybe anywhere from 15 to 30 that show up. Many times those are dealt out when they show up, they talk to the city attorney, they go before the judge makes a deal, they accept it, and out the door they go. So
That's in a month's time?
in a month's time, but that's not the number of tickets. I can say by far the majority of them pay before they ever get to court.
Is there, Chief, is there any data, it's again, you probably know this in your officers, but your officers that might ticket for XYZ, the person goes in, they walk, repeat offender, repeat offender, repeat offender, their hands aren't even slapped. Is that data available? Or is that something the officers can come to the next meeting that are involved in court to share with the board? Because if we do have courts where people are coming in to repeat and there's no, penalty to what, then we got another problem.
I think that's one of the things that with the town manager, our town attorney, and potentially going to a contract with another attorney, we're going to look at that very process to see if we can set some better rules behind that.
How many officers go to court? How many are there when you have court? One, two?
Well, I have a bailiff and somebody that stands up at the cashier's place because we get some angry people.
Okay,
so
you have
2 officers.
You have 2.
All the time.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Great.
And
Thanks.
these are all questions that we all had when we first got here and started talking to the chief and also with Pam. And so we've been discussing this week.
Good. Yeah, I mean, Pam was A+. I talked to her,
Right.
and the mayor and I had a conversation about this last week, and the mayor was aware, and I spoke with Pam, and she had good information, and I'm excited. She's talked to the chief, TM, the attorney, and we're
Right.
moving forward. So, okay, great.
So, you guys feel you have your direction?
We do.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
And then we'll just have it on our next, we'll have this as a discussion item.
On a future agenda,
I'd like to see it on our January,
January?
because our colleagues are already, they're actively working.
Okay.
Right.
Ms. Hogan, can you note that for January?
I assume the 7th,
Yes, if
first
possible.
meeting? Okay.
Thank you.
Any further discussion on that particular item? Okay. Next discussion item, El Paso County Hazard Mitigation Program. Chief Sheriff.
Yes, I really don't have any additional information other than the packets that I gave Mayor. I am receiving phone calls from El Paso County saying if we're going to do this, they need it signed and in place by the 21st, which means if it's approved, we need to get it signed tonight, probably. The plus side of it is it works with the county. They assist us putting a plan together. There's potential grants, possibly, if we identify projects that also fit within their guidelines. The downside is, I think I sent a letter to you that requires $572 matching funds, and all that means is time, our time, we document our time. The majority of the work is actually going to have to be completed by Public Works and Planning, because that's where most of the hazards fall. So it really falls back onto them also on, do they view this as something they want to get involved in? Then obviously a decision by the board on how we're going to do this.
But you
Tom?
need a decision tonight, correct, Chief?
We really do need a decision tonight, because they have to turn this paperwork into the state and the feds. And the more, obviously, the more towns and municipalities that sign on, the better their process looks.
Tom and Larry, did you guys find this process cumbersome? I mean, is this a big deal for you guys? Problematic?
I don't find it problematic. I think the county tends to take charge of large-scale events, as we've seen over the years, whether it's a forest fire approaching the town, or we had some flooding issues back in 2013.
things like that are normally handled at the county level, but they end up falling upon mostly my department to repair or to try to mitigate. I think what they're looking for here is a more formal procedures or more policies that are put out that says we have this event, this is, we have, an example I use is like, this town has an earthquake plan, believe it or not, as we've had for 20-some years, and our water guys actually are the ones that administer that. And they're the ones that train on it, where we divide this town into 4 different sections, and we assess critical infrastructure and damage. Is our tank intact? Is our roads passable? Things like that. Now, that would fall under this hazard mitigation, or at least I would think it does, to that extent. So it's not really nothing new to us. It's just a way I look at it is a way to streamline it a little bit and make the county more aware of what our capabilities are, types of equipment and so on.
And is this new to us, or is this something we do every year?
Well,
I don't recall it last year.
We've done this once before, and that was when we had Cindy Srockman as HR. She ran the program last time, a few years ago. So I believe that was 2015, maybe.
Right. Okay. Is that the rotation on it? They do it every 3 or 4 years?
I'm not sure.
Okay. Questions from the board?
You know, I got a chance 2 years ago to attend a symposium, and I know there's a big push from the county and from the Springs and all the various areas to maybe come under an umbrella, a little bit of better communication. Is, you know, I don't think it's try to cookie stamp guidelines, but I don't think there's anything bad about it. I think you asked a great question. Is this going to generate a lot of work for our guys when they already have certain programs already implemented? That'd be my only concern.
Anybody else?
So, Mr. Tharnish, you feel okay with the workload? Because I would expect that, isn't most of it coming from the police? Or?
No, actually, the only thing we're ever going to provide is security and evacuation. Identifying the hazardous, the process is identifying the hazardous areas such as the floods, the earthquakes, the dam, the infrastructure that could be at risk, then trying to identify the fixes to those. If they identify goals and objectives for, we need to do X, Y, Z to help us, that would also go to the county, and they would look at that in their master plan and make a decision on, could they get a grant for us for that project. But really, the majority of the hazard mitigation is going to fall on Public Works. Okay. We're just, again, evacuation and providing security.
So again, I know you answered this question just a moment ago, but I just want to, I guess, double check, see if there is concerns on your end.
No, I look at it more as an asset for the town to be involved in this plan, because when something large happens, they're going to be here anyway. Okay. So if we already have our own procedures in place and we're taking steps, and then they come in and set up an incident command and things like that. All of my, for example, all my water employees are NIMS trained, all the way up to 700 levels, so they know what command structure looks like if we have a big event and things like that. So.
Chief, you feel the same way?
With him doing the work, yes, sir.
Okay.
So this is pretty standard. In other words, there are towns or municipalities in El Paso County that really are not participating. It's pretty much a standard activity.
I believe there might be one town that's not, I think, don't quote me, it's either Woodland Park or Manitou. Somebody's not participating because they do totally their own thing, as I recall reading through the paperwork. But Calhan and some of the others, even some of the smaller agencies are doing this.
Okay.
This is maybe getting more out of I and getting into the we and participating with our neighbors.
Sure.
Which we should be doing, especially with the growth, what's happening up here. It would be crazy for us not to.
Okay.
Okay.
Would somebody like to go ahead and make a motion for us to move forward on this?
Mr. Mayor, just a question for you. In moving forward, I mean, do we have by just saying to move forward, that gives chief the authorization for you to sign or whoever needs to sign?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
It would be that same letter you have in your packet.
I got you.
Right?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So motion to move forward with the El Paso County Hazard Mitigation Program.
A second.
I have a motion, a second. Ms. Hogan?
Trustee Romello?
Yes.
Trustee Stevens?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Elliott?
Yes.
Mayor Wilson?
Yes.
Trustee Bornstein?
Yes.
That motion passes 5-0. Discussion item, North Monument Creek Interceptor. Mr. Tharnish.
I prefer to stand. So I had told you in a previous meeting that I would give you an update on this project that's coming to this town and basically to all the northern entities up here. And it's titled North Monument Creek Interceptor Project. The short version of this is that it's an attempt by Colorado Springs Utilities to look at taking all of the wastewater that this whole region provides through 2 different treatment plants and running a massive pipeline up here and taking all of everybody's wastewater and gravity flowing it downstream to one of their plants that's located in the near Garden of the Gods on I-25. And what's driving that is Colorado Springs Utilities has a commitment to provide service for that to the new Air Force Academy Visitor Center, which is going to be at near the North Gate I-25 exit. And in order to do that, they're on a very quick timeline to get compliant, to get to the point where they have to have flushing toilets and all that. Where the town gets involved, since we're not really in the sewer business, that's a Monument Sanitation District and Palm Lake Sanitation District and so on, is that the town has access or has a right to all of the return flows, as we call them, which is what comes when they treat the sewage and everything that comes in that pipe to pretty good clean standards. It's not drinking water by no means, but it's above stream standards. And the question has always been, what is the town, how is Colorado Springs Utilities going to give us our return flows back? And when I mentioned before, the reuse pipeline that, and by pipeline I mean the plan, was for us to look at trying to build a state-of-the-art reuse water treatment plant at some point in the future. And that future probably wouldn't have been more than 2 to 3 years out. To treat that return flow water, and try to process it into drinking water through a longer process. Now, what this really means for us is if Colorado Springs can agree to supply our return flows back to us in some form, then we may not need to treat it at all. We may just take in exchange, we could, it's their decision, but if they choose to give us drinking water back in return for the return flows, at maybe a slight increase in treatment, that's going to maybe run a couple $1 million for a pipeline that all 5 or 6 entities up here would contribute. Actually, that would be our portion of it, versus that 8 or 9 million that I've been telling you about for the reuse plant.
It's huge.
So it's a major financial advantage to us if we can make that happen. But because the deadlines are coming up really quick, I think the next scheduled meeting is going to be in January. We're still meeting at the technical level with, I took our new interim manager to that meeting, and he was probably drinking from a fire hose there, because they had about at least 8 or 9 other people there with their managers and engineers and lawyers. And it was a pretty good meeting. Colorado Springs talked about they would definitely consider it. What they're considering as some way to get everybody's return flows up here back to us in one pipe. You know, if that's the path that they choose to go to, we'll gladly bring that before you for some kind of vote or decision, because my guess is there'll be some kind of legal agreements that'll be involved with that. So I've been keeping our new town manager up to date on that, and we've been, like I said, kind of drinking from a fire hose lately, so it's a good analogy to learn. So that's kind of the update where we're at. That's where all the entities are at right now. We're waiting for from a reply from Colorado Springs Utilities, and I imagine that'll come in January potentially. If that occurs, then at some point here, I will have a representative from Colorado Springs Utilities come brief the board. And they said they would do that for all the entities involved, to explain to you a little more detail about what that's going to involve and how we're going to make us, as we say in the water world, how are you going to make us whole? Are you going to give us all the water we put in your pipe, every last drop of it back? But you are getting treated water versus having to treat it. There may be a factor that they're going to throw in there that we may have to vote on. That would be, that's kind of the story in a nutshell, or the update that I wanted to give you. And we'll keep you up to date as things progress. So I expect another update sometime in January. Maybe second meeting in January, depending on when they have their next meeting.
Okay, questions from the board?
Questions?
Is there a timeline where, if this moves forward, they'd like to accomplish and have their project completed?
The only deadline I've heard is that they need to have flushing toilets at the new visitor center, I want to say in mid to late 2020. So it's for putting that many miles of pipe in the ground and doing what everything they do, that is a very, very quick deadline.
So are they moving north just looking for assistance to subsidize this project, which is okay, which is A-okay, but they figure if they're this close to Monument and what have you, and the growth, why not?
Well, one of the like we call one of the biddings or benefits that Colorado Springs gains is they get permanent easements through the Air Force Academy, which is a major thing that the federal government never does. But they want this thing to work, and they want to be able to flush them toilets the day they open that visitor center. So they're willing to go the extra couple of miles to, this town borders the Air Force Academy, about a half-mile south of Baptist Road. We have a pretty large commercially zoned area. I don't know how that pipeline is going to run. They're doing routing studies right now to try to maintain that gravity feed. What that means for a lot of people up here and also for Colorado Springs is it may give them the ability to shut down multiple lift stations. If they currently pump waste from the east side of the interstate, under the interstate to the west. They might not have to do that anymore. So it's kind of one of those terms you hear all the time, a win-win for everybody. This might be a true win-win.
No, I think it's an excellent idea, and I mean, you're calling 2020, and we'll agree to disagree, but I don't think we'd see a reuse if the board decided to. I don't think we'd see that for years and years and years. So I think this is very exciting from a cost, from a solution, partnership. I just think it's good every which way. So thank you.
Yeah, it might be the most. We're always talking about trying to do regional efforts, plans, or projects. This might be as close as you ever come with this many entities. Okay. Everybody has something to gain from this, whether it's Triview, Woodmore, us, Forest Lakes. There's multiple entities involved in this.
Thank you, Tom.
We're trying to speak at these meetings as one group so that there's some power behind it.
Yeah, I was just going to say, you mentioned that CSU is going to bring everything back in a pipeline. So how do they measure? How do we determine how much we put into the interceptor program and returning it back to them and versus what we're owed back? How does that split out?
Well, right now, all of the two wastewater plants here, and one of them is at the end of Mitchell Avenue. That's the one that takes Palmer Lake, Monument, and Woodmore. Those three entities feed that plant, and then Triview, Forest Lakes, and Denala feed the Upper Monument Creek plant, which is down south of Baptist Road. But every one of us have major influence, a major inflow to the plants, so we get those reports every single day. They call the water department because we use those numbers on our augmentation reports and things. So we know what we typically send down every single day.
So would they be able to, when they come here to present and answer questions, would they be able to alleviate our concerns as it relates to, we know what we're giving them, and now how are they going to measure and report back to us what they're giving back to us?
I don't exactly know how detailed their presentation will be. My guess is some of it's going to be explaining the history behind it and how they got to where they are now, and how it can benefit not only us, but the Woodmore District and Triview and all the entities involved.
Basic terms would be good, because I'm not a water expert.
Right.
But at least we could get the reassurance that, this is
Well,
how the
that's-
process
yes,
works.
that's something that we talked about as a northern group on a lot of levels, is that we will, we want to, and some managers even more vocal about that we would want to make sure that we get every drop that we send down back. It's just, we don't know if they say, yes, you can have it back as treated water, but, we're gonna have to charge you 1.1 or 1.2 times. Well, if you do the math, which we'll do the math ahead of time, we're still gonna come out far cheaper than spending 8 to 9 million on our own plant.
I had a question, maybe it's a dumb question, but could the sanitation independent, could they say, hey, we don't want to do this?
They could, but my guess is the sanitation people are way more excited on this than the water people.
And then my second question, knowing that Woodmore utilizes over 60% of that facility, I'm hopeful that our attorneys and they will pay their fair share. And this won't be broken by Palmer Lake X, Woodmore X, and Monument X, 33, 33, 33. Everybody pays according to usage.
Right, well, we're not paying, as a town, we're not paying for any portion of the sewage flow because that's a separate entity than us.
Right.
When we get our water back, those are where there'll be a negotiated term for that.
Okay.
And whatever water, if we say we send 200,000 gallons a day, and we should get the same amount back.
Okay.
Our problem really is gonna be, if we get that much water back and we can't use it, then we have to figure out a plan. We do have a backup plan, but I'll go into that at some
Okay.
point. How to store that water.
All right. Thanks.
And this doesn't require, how much change does this require to our current system?
To our current system?
Yes.
There's no change.
No change, no addition or?
No, this is water that we currently send downstream now because we don't have the ability to capture it. And we use it as a term paper water. We use it for exchanges to try to keep our lake full. If somebody senior to us calls for that water, then a portion of that will go downstream. That's why you have offshore water terminals, because it can get complicated. But I mean, these are meetings where the district water commissioner is present. Pretty high-level people are in these northern group meetings, or these meetings that we meet with our springs utilities.
So are the senior water people, because my concern also would be if we owe the senior people a certain amount of water, but how much would we also owe to the, I don't know what you call it, to the visitor center at the Air Force? How do they split that out?
Well, we wouldn't owe any more than we currently, and I'm not a big fan of O term, but things that we are required to send downstream because somebody has a more senior right than us.
Right.
That would continue to a certain extent because the water commissioners are in these meetings for that reason, to make sure that there's no what they call injury to any of the senior people that have a right. There's only one right between here and the Air Force Academy that they're working on trying to solve, and it has to do with a rancher just south of Baptist that has a senior right.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure they'll resolve that. It seems like the willpower is there, the political backing is there for it, and what I've seen over my many years is that usually means it's going to be a successful project.
So do you see long-term, I know it's a crazy question, but do you see CSU? Well, you see CSU eventually taking over the sanitation here, taking over what's done for Triview, and that becoming their entity, because they're moving north. I mean, this has been talked for years. Denali says that eventually CSU is going to take them. Do you see that in the future?
On a sewer end, they're going to have all the flows that go down to get treated. But the infrastructure that's in the ground here, like their collection pipes, the sewer lines and all that, those are still going to have to be maintained by the local districts or entities. Now, will they eventually work their way in the water? I don't think so. Usually CSU makes their decisions based on economics and what's good for the citizens of Colorado Springs. So if there was a value to supplying water to this area, I think they would have done it a long time ago.
Okay. Just curious, you'd know best.
Any further questions?
That's it?
So, possibly an update at the end of next month.
Yes, as soon as we have our next meeting with CSU, which will be first part of January or something. We'll keep you up to date, and then I'll try to schedule the, I can't remember the exact person, I want to say maybe the head of their water resources department or something, but one of their guys that offered to speak to all the various boards. We just need to tell them when.
Thank you, Mr. Flores.
Okay.
Next discussion item, Board Attorney. I wanted to find out if your firm has any procedures that they could recommend as far as what we do is in contacting you. I'm sure we don't want to pay as a board for every email that a board member might have a question on. Do you have a recommendation from your firm?
Yes, I'd like to start by saying it's best if, that's part of what I'd like to respond to, but it's best if I get express direction regarding the work that is assigned to me. So I have two sources of work. That one would be from the town manager, who would ask me to to conduct research on specific projects regarding day-to-day stuff. And the other source of work would be the Board of Trustees. And what I'm looking for is some direction regarding setting up a structure whereby I receive work from the Board of Trustees. The Board of Trustees as a body knows what work I've received, and then I can report back. There are lots of alternatives, and that's really for you to determine as a board. What I would suggest, or one request that I would have, is that any request for information, legal advice that is asked of me, that I would share it with the board in total. So for example, if you, Mayor Wilson, asked me to research X question, I would restate X question and then share my response with everybody. The issue that you get to is a little bit different than that, which is how to govern how much work I get and how to manage my workload. And one way to do that is to have those requests mediated. So for example, all requests for work for me would go to X person. X person would then decide yes on this one, no on this one, yes on this one, and then provide that instruction to me. The question is, who does that, and how is that decision made?
Okay.
And that's what I'd like to put back for you. Generally speaking, I think that's a difficult position for me to be in, and I think it's a difficult position for anybody to be in, but I think it's in many ways more difficult for me to be in. So I just want to make sure that there's some structure in place where everybody knows what work has been assigned to me and can expect a response and the expectations of that response. In terms of how that works, I think that depends on the question. Some questions are 15-minute response, some questions are 3 hours. Some more than that, depending on the nature of the question. I think that there will be a lot of questions in the beginning. It's my understanding that the town has not had an attorney for some number of months. So I expect there to be a lot of questions at the beginning, and my hope would be that this would, as a natural consequence of all these questions being stored up and me responding to them, that they would die down and become a manageable level at some point in the near future. So it's a long way of saying I think it may be best, it's really the board's decision to decide whether there's a mediator or not, or whether I field all the questions or not. And that I put that back to you. I think that our towns do one or the other.
Do we, I'm asking this, do we have independent trustees? I mean, I'll ask her, have you been receiving?
Yes.
Seriously? It's my understanding that when we direct, it's as a board, and we just like we just did earlier with the courts and things like that, we're on the page, we directed.
Right.
Not having where a list goes and somebody determines. I think that's why we act as a board.
Well, and I think at one point we funneled through the town manager when it was outside of a meeting. And I think we got away from that with the changes in town staff. Is that something we want to reintroduce?
I think so.
Yeah, that's what we had discussed today and yesterday. We talked about that, whether you wanted to run it through you, Mayor, or run it through me. And, towns do it both ways. But most towns that I've worked for, it run through the town manager, because sometimes staff may have the answer. We've already asked him that. We've already got it in a readily available source. We can get it to you quick. Whereas if you call him, he's going to get you the same information we could have got you, but it's going to cost you.
So you're just looking at directing, so the information is readily available, goes to the board. You're not looking at censoring or?
No.
No, I think that makes incredible.
We're going to give you an
sense.
answer.
But-
You're going to get an answer from staff
But it
or
wouldn't-
from the attorney.
In the, along your comment when you said censoring, I think there also needs to be an approval process for the board members. So I think instead of just one-off everybody asking questions, we should have there needs to be some type of a process. I don't want to put that burden on him to have to decide which question should go to, that he can bring from the board to the attorney or not. So I think there needs to be a process that we have as board members, and then another process for the staff. You see what I'm saying? Because they have legal questions.
Well, I think that's what these meetings are for.
Well,
isn't
yeah.
it?
Yeah, that's what.
They're for, and it bothers me that you're getting tons of emails because you're not the 24-hour attorney, and is it validated information, and should this even be going to begin with, and things of that nature. So that's got to stop.
Yeah, I wouldn't say I'm getting tons of requests, but I have gotten requests, and I that's why I'm seeking this direction, so that
Yeah.
everybody's on the same page regarding how I should respond.
Well, I think we should run everything through the town manager.
I agree.
And I think if the town manager feels it needs board approval, it comes to the next meeting.
Exactly. Yep. And you'll see responses from us pretty quickly. If staff can't do it, we'll go to the town attorney. So you'll get the answers.
That's fine.
So we're in agreement,
Yeah.
funnel it through the town attorney, or town manager.
I wished I was the town attorney.
The town manager will kick it, bring it to a next board meeting if it needs further clarification or approval.
Yes, sir. And just like he said, the responses should be to everyone, not just to one.
That
We're
sounds good.
comfortable with that?
No, yeah, that's fine. And I think if everybody's communicated, it's transparent. And then
Right.
nobody feels like they were left out of the circle. We have a couple of colleagues that aren't here tonight, and that's a pet peeve. So I think.
That's our goal.
Yeah, that's our goal.
I think then
Definitely.
it's like you were copied, you were copied.
Definitely.
And that's the request, the basis for the request is so that everybody understands what the structure is, and that there is transparency regarding who knows what and how things are responded to.
You feel comfortable with your direction, Mr. Rivia?
Yes, thank you.
Public comments. Public comments are limited to 3 minutes. Do we have anybody from the public that would like to make a comment?
Ann Howe. Last Board of Trustees meeting, we called an executive session. The sunshine laws state, CRS 246402, basically exclusions for using that. And the exclusion is that it cannot be applied to discussions concerning any member of a local public body, any elected official, or appointed of a person to fill the office of a member of a local public body. So basically, you are in direct violation of the sunshine laws. I have requested that those recordings be released, and I would expect that to happen since you are in direct violation of sunshine laws in Colorado.
Thank you, Ms. Howe. Any other comments from the public? Sir?
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Eric Metzger. I'm a resident of Woodmore for over 4 years. I'm a 28-year Army veteran. Sorry, Mr. Mayor. I'm an ambassador for the Tri-Lakes Chamber of Commerce. I'm also the owner of Simple Computer Repair of Monument. Last summer, I purchased Monument Computers, so I'm now the only full-service computer store and IT store here in Monument. I have 2 concerns I'd like to ask you about today, or at least put in front of you today. The first is that just using local businesses in the town's IT dealings, and when you're buying something, when you're looking for services, I think it's important to use a local business that has that capability. And then secondly, just are we losing money, are we wasting money if we're not using a local business? I've seen some invoices from 2018 where we're using a company out of Inglewood, Colorado, up near Denver. Concern with some of the invoices I've seen, possibly that I've seen maybe a 65% markup on a computer that the city bought or the town bought, maybe a $30 shipping charge on a single cable that was bought. Purchase of 40 Windows 2016 server licenses. I don't think the city's got 40 servers, but I don't know why we need 40 licenses. So what I'm asking then is that the Board of Trustees or the town of Miami just take a look at how we're working our IT budget, and secondly, seeing that we are in fact considering local sourcing when we are looking at our IT and looking at where we're acquiring goods and we're acquiring services from. If you would allow, on my way off the dais here, I do have a handout as just a possible example of how simple computer repair, for example, a local company could meet the needs of 6 of the 8 IT objectives that you have in your budget. If I can leave those with you as I go, then I appreciate that.
Mr. Metzger, would you mind, prior to to leaving the table there, would you sign in so I can spell your name properly for the minutes?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
I'll make sure it wasn't cutting my time.
No problem. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you have another one with you?
I'm sorry?
Do you have another one with you?
Yes, sir.
Will you make sure Ms. Hogan gets one? For
Me too.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Would anybody else from the public like to speak?
Thank you, sir.
Good evening, Nancy Sorensen, 418 Trailhead Road. Happy holidays to everybody. Now that we have a town attorney, I was hoping that Trustee Clark would be here tonight. Unfortunately, she isn't. I've noticed in previous meetings that it has come up multiple times that she has been consulting with her own personal attorney. And I'm wondering if that is appropriate, if it's legal. It would seem to me, especially now that we have a town attorney, that all of those types of questions should be directed to the appropriate town attorney. And I was just curious about the method of making sure that we use the correct attorney for questions that the trustees have. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hogan. Any other comments from the public? Seeing none, I'll close the public comments portion of our meeting and move on to board authorizations. Do we have any from staff? Okay. Board members? Seeing none, I'll move forward to Board of Trustee comments. Comments from the board?
I'm not sitting like this because I'm a grump, I'm sitting because I'm cold, just so everybody knows. So,
Trustee Bornstein, I saw that you had I heard that you had volunteered for the Boy Scouts coming up.
yeah, look, yeah, that's gonna be great.
Thank you for volunteering for that.
Yeah, Boy Scouts, Cub Scouts?
Cub Scouts.
Cub Scouts, yeah. I found my Cub Scout hat. And don't even ask how old that is.
Thank you, I just wanted to...
Yeah, thank you. I just want to make one oh, I'm sorry, please.
No, go ahead, continue.
I just want to make one comment. Just notice how happy and healthy they are when they're new. That's all I got.
It's been a great week.
I attended the Jackson Creek Senior Living Center, I guess, ribbon cutting earlier this week. That place is gorgeous and just incredible facility, from independent living to assisted living to memory care. And I was really, really impressed with that place. It's awesome.
What is memory care? What is
Like
that?
Alzheimer's.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
If there are no other comments, I will look for a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
All in favor? Aye. Aye. We are adjourned.
I
just lost $10 to somebody.
Oh, yeah.
We'll see what you guys look like in 6 months.
Yeah.
You'll wear us out?